So there were loads of goals this game week, absolute bagfuls, great attacking performances, really poor defensive performances, and there's one team that seemed to be running away with the title already. All coming up next. What's up guys, and welcome to JNO United, bringing the best in football news, entertainment and games. And today we've got the Game Week 5 weekend recap. But before we get into the show, if you're new around here and you like football in all its forms, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to smash that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the weekend of football. And let's get on with the show by starting with what's going to depress me the most, and that is the performance of West Ham versus West Brom. Now don't get me wrong, West Brom came, they conquered, and they really deserved their victory. But West Ham's defence is so shocking at the moment that I'm starting to wonder if James Tomkins was the only thing keeping that defence together, because we sold him and we're even worse than we were defensively last year. Some of it was schoolboy errors, that's how bad it was. Last week we had James Collins heading over his own goalkeeper. This week we had a corner and we had no one back to defend in case there was a counter-attack. And I mean no one. They won the ball in their box, they played one through ball to Rondon, and that was it. We were trying to chase Rondon and Chadley to stop them from scoring. That is shocking defending. You always have one or two men on the halfway line ready for situations like that. And that was after Masuaka managed to handball twice in the space of a minute. Twice in the space of 1 minute. You'd think he'd have learnt his lesson after the first one, and then the ball is crossed in from the free kick he gave away, and he handballs it again, giving away a penalty and setting the tone for what was a really poor defensive performance by West Ham. There was one star man on West Brom's side, and that was Nacer Chadli, being involved in all of the goals that West Brom scored, either getting the assist or getting the goals. 2 goals, 2 assists. Absolutely amazing performance by a man that probably would have been a star player for many clubs but just couldn't get into that Tottenham side. Now West Brom have snapped him up and they seem to have got himself a gem, but will he keep that kind of record up? I doubt he'll be able to keep it up to that extent, but he's definitely a great signing for West Brom. On the plus side, Antonio keeps scoring. It's probably one of the few upsides to the West Ham team at the moment. We have brought in a lot of players, we look stronger as a squad, but defensively I just don't understand how players like Collins, like Reed, like Bonner, who have played football for a while, can make those kind of mistakes. Was Cresswell that important to our defence? Because we are so much worse now that we don't have Cresswell and we sold James Tomkins. It's ridiculous. Now that we've got the depressing stuff out of the way, let me go on to who I think had the performance of the week as far as teams go, and that is Man City. I think under Guardiola, they are already looking like an amazing team that should win the league. I think it is now theirs to lose. If they keep performing like this, they are going to outplay most of the teams in the league. They just look like they get what Guardiola is trying to preach to them, and they are performing on the pitch, even without Aguero, who is one of their star players. Company is still to come back as well. But right now, Kevin De Bruyne is running the show. He looks absolutely fantastic in this formation, playing for Pep Guardiola. Last year he looked great, don't get me wrong. And in Germany, playing for Wolfsburg, he looked great as well. But now he looks like the finished article. And I can't believe that Chelsea let a player of this calibre go. Now, don't get me wrong, they've done it before. They let Lukaku go. Lukaku's a great striker. But Kevin De Bruyne right now, if he keeps this up for the entire season, is one of the best midfielders in the world. Better than Paul Pogba if he keeps this up. Paul Pogba has been bought for a ridiculous amount of money. Kevin De Bruyne is better than Paul Pogba is right now. But it's just not Kevin De Bruyne that looks good. Sterling looked good. Iheanacho looked good. Kolarov looked good. Kolarov hasn't looked good for a while, but Kolarov looked like a real commanding centre-back who could move forward and ping the ball about all over the pitch. The one thing I will say though is Raheem Sterling, that finish of yours, man, that was weak. And man, you were lucky that it didn't get cleared off the line. You really need to work on your finishing. That's the one thing. Everything else in your game has stepped up, but your finishing still looks poor. Another player that has come into his own because of Aguero's absence is Iheanacho. 13 starts, 12 goals. His return rate is incredible. I kind of hope he gets rotated as a fan with Aguero so that he gets some game time and he can become the player that he's showing the promise to be. As an FPL player, I hope Iheanacho just goes and sits on the bench from now on, because I kind of want Aguero to be back to the Aguero we know and love. And a final quick note, Nolito, what on earth was that attempt of a headbutt? Pretty weak and pretty pointless considering you guys were coasting the game. Really get your act together. That was completely unnecessary. We now move on to Hull versus Arsenal, and Arsenal came in looking hungry, looking ready to get the victory. But there were still a few key points that I think they're missing. They still need a centre forward. Sanchez is doing a job up there, yes. But the fact that you're relying on Sanchez to be your striker, when you've brought in Lucas Perez, and you have Oliver Giroud, and Theo Walcott, who likes to think he's a striker, it's worrying. You still don't have a world-class striker. Against teams like Hull, when you're dominating like this, you are going to get the goals. But Hull did hold out for a while. You still need a world-class striker, but Xhaka looks like the midfielder that you guys have needed for a while, and what a strike by Xhaka to finish the game off. Incredible strike in a weekend that had quite a few incredible goals. But if we move on to the controversial part of it, Jake Livermore got sent off for a handball which could have denied a goal. But the thing is, Jakupovic was there. We don't know if he would have saved it. Now, Jake Livermore got sent off by the referee for that handball. But the handball is a sending off offence if you are stopping a certain goal. And there's no way we know if that was a certain goal. It was definitely a penalty, but was it a red card? And after that, why on earth did Sanchez take the penalty? Was it really necessary for him to take the penalty? Santi Cazorla was there. Santi Cazorla has a good penalty taking rate, and Sanchez took it and let the side down. Fortunately, he did manage to get 2 goals, so we'll forgive him. But Sanchez, leave the penalties to Santi Cazorla. If we move on to Everton versus Middlesbrough, Everton managed to pick up the victory against a Middlesbrough side that definitely were up for the game. But should they have scored? If you look at the actual goal that was an own goal by Stekelenburg, Negredo headers Stekelenburg's arm, which made him put the ball into the net. Surely that is a foul, considering Stekelenburg has possession of the ball, then gets hit by a player, and that creates the goal. I'm just saying. That being said, Everton look good under Koeman at the moment. Definitely look like a side on the up. Idrissa Gueye, I know I've said that wrong. There's like a 0.5% chance that I got that right. Looks like the new Kanté. I reckon if Leicester had managed to get him, they would be playing similar to the way they were playing last year. He's all over the pitch, winning the ball, starting attacks. He looks like an incredible buy for Everton. And congratulations to Gareth Barry on the 600 appearances. Well done, you're in a class with the likes of Giggs. So congratulations for that many performances. I think the other player is Frank Lampard. You have been a solid player for many clubs in the Premier League. Congratulations to you, and you managed to go and get yourself a goal on that 600th appearance. We move on to Leicester versus Burnley, and finally the Leicester of old look like they could be coming back. After impressive performance against Club Brugge, they have come into this game with new striker Slimani, who managed to bag himself 2 goals, and that partnership of 3, Slimani, Mahrez and Vardy, looked really good together. Vardy getting an assist for one of Slimani's goals, and Mahrez being the one that caused the own goal by me of Burnley. So Leicester look on the up, but was it because Burnley just couldn't handle them, and other sides will have more of an idea of how to cope with Leicester, seeing as they played against them last year? We'll have to wait and see, but a good week for Leicester fans. We then had Chelsea versus Liverpool, and I'd just like to ask who was at home in that game. I know they were playing at Stamford Bridge, but if you watched the game without knowing where they were playing and without listening to the fans, you would have thought that Liverpool were at home the way they were playing against Chelsea. Chelsea seemed to set up very defensively, didn't get many balls up to Costa, and Liverpool just seemed to run the show for the majority of the game. Jordan Henderson's goal was an absolute cracker, get that right, but Liverpool definitely looked like the better side. Even after Diego Costa managed to get the goal, which was caused because Liverpool midfield didn't track Matic's run, it still didn't look like Chelsea were going to get a second. Liverpool look good at the moment, and I'm looking to them to push on and maybe even go for a top 4 spot. And finally we get to the Watford versus Man United game, and Watford have gone from strength to strength after their recent performances. Having beaten West Ham convincingly, they now went and beat Man United convincingly. And I mean that convincingly. Watford looked good, they looked organised. Igalo put in a shift defensively, which isn't something you expect from a striker, but he was running all over the field. Etienne Capoue keeps scoring, that's 4 goals from 5 shots. And then the substitute you brought on, who I'm quite afraid to say his name because if you pronounce it wrong it sounds like you're saying something else, but he came on and made a massive difference, getting a goal and winning the penalty. Watford definitely deserved the win, but Man United didn't look organised. It started off with Smalling taking out David De Gea, which gave Igalo a chance which he should have put in the net. The first goal Watford scored, Martial should have cleared his lines. To be fair to him, he had just got a knock on the head, so maybe his decision making was affected by that, but that shouldn't have been a goal if Man United were defensively sound. And the amount of passes they put astray in that game was incredible. And the thing I have to ask is, why is Fellaini the centre midfield partner of Paul Pogba? You have Bastian Schweinsteiger. I know you've fallen out of him, Mourinho, for some reason, but Bastian Schweinsteiger is quality. You have Ander Herrera, you have Michael Carrick, you have players that could play in that role, and you're playing Fellaini there, and I just don't get it. Is Fellaini really good enough for that new look Man United side? I don't think he is. That's my personal opinion. You may disagree with me, but I'm just not sure why you've got Fellaini in there. Anyway guys, that wraps up this weekend recap. It was an incredible weekend. I enjoyed every moment of it, even though I was at work. Finally I had a good FPL week, which was a plus. Let me know your thoughts on the game week in the comments down below. If you disagree with anything I said, come at me. I don't mind, that's what the comments are there for. I've been JNO, you've been awesome, and remember, it's all about the game.